Hey up everybody, my name is Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about budget, because for every low budget film that you see out there, you'll look at it, you think, oh, this looks so cheap, this looks so easy to make, and then you start looking into the behind the scenes, you start seeing the crew, and there's 15 people on the set. They've got a gaffer and a runner and a DOP and a camera assistant and 2 sound guys, sound mixer and a boom operator. And you've got the director and you've got the producer and you've got all these various roles, right? And then you start hearing about what they were looking at in terms of budget, and they'll be spending thousands of pounds on this film whilst also calling it no budget, right? So you've got these films that, like Clerks for instance, that cost £30,000, and it's a film that was made by people that were very new to the industry, people that were very passionate about their craft, and people that were trying extremely hard to make some true artistic expression, right? And I think they did an incredible job with it. However, and this is something that has gotten better over time, that film cost somewhere in the realm of about £30,000 to make. And it feels like if you don't have much money, you shouldn't be allowed to create art. That's kind of how it can often feel for people that have very little in the way of resources, people that might not even have, say, the equipment that I've got. I've got a Canon C100 Mark I that cost £600 on eBay. And that was really cheap. That was doing the bids. I did the bids and no one else bid for it, so I got quite lucky in that regard. And then the lenses cost more on top of that, and then the batteries cost £50 a pop. And then, if I was doing lights, I would have light stands either side. That's another 200 quid to go on that. And then if you want sound, you're looking at £200 for a microphone minimum. And then you're looking at, some kind of boom pole, and boom poles can get up to about 80 quid. And then you've got like something to record it into, and the cheapest ones of those are about 150 quid. And then you've got, little boards and stuff. A clapper board can be a tenner. And then you've got, the soft boxes sort of things, those can cost money. And then there's this thing that you put on a microphone called a blimp. And it's basically for if it's very, very, very windy out, right? And this is basically just a structure of foam with a small semi-vacuum kind of thing inside, which stops wind actually getting in. And if you want to get one of those, which is just, again, some foam with nothing on it, £250. Which is, I think that's a hell of a steal from their point of view. Not from your point of view. From your point of view, it's a total con, right? All of these various pieces of equipment cost so much money. And then you're looking at locations. Those cost money to actually rent out. If you want somewhere that looks decent, if you want to have places that are other than just your house and your garden and your local park and just these things that you have immediate access to. So if you want to tell stories outside of this scope, you can't. Okay? And that's just the way that the world works, right? And it feels sort of like, as you kind of go through your journey of making films, you've always got to work within your limitations. And that is a very useful way of creating, because you can create much better stuff if you don't have absolute total creative freedom. You can do stuff that you could never have imagined doing if you had total unlimited freedom. I mean, look at the budgets of stuff like the new Star Wars and the new Avengers and the new Transformers and $200, $300 million budgets. And what they get out of them is not necessarily 500,000 times as good as the latest folk film that's come out with a budget of about 200 quid. Is it really 500,000 times better? I don't think so. And I feel like everyone is going to see these films because they have this accessibility to them, because the history of cinema has always favoured the wealthy and the rich to create. It has always been an institution ever since the 1910s when Hollywood first began and institutionalized filmmaking started taking off, and you started having production companies and everything started working that way. I mean, the beginning of acting in film as a career started off as this extremely just poor working conditions and really disgusting contracts. There was this thing called, I believe it was a lifestyle contract. I can't remember who the actress was, but it was just like a silent movie actress. And some of the things that were on it included, she had to be in bed by midnight every night. She wasn't allowed to go out on Saturdays, and she had to stick to a very strict diet of like certain healthy foods and stuff like that. She couldn't smoke, she couldn't drink, she couldn't do any of these sort of things. So even in her off time, she was required to do these things by the production company, which essentially owned her. They paid her actors tended to get shafted in those days because actors were owned by singular production companies, and so they didn't get to take home all of the money. And in the late 1930s and early 40s, unions for actors, the SAG and I think it's the SAG, and other unions like that started to take off and start providing actors with more workers' rights. And I think this led to a system of almost industrial scale filmmaking, when you've got stuff like the typical David Lean epic, or you've got stuff like Lawrence of Arabia, and you've got Dr. Zhivago, and you've got Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments, and all these various 3-hour films that are huge. Gone with the Wind is an earlier example. You got so many of these films that were absolutely massive in scale that no one person could make on their own. So these are stories that, if you do not have the resources, are kind of out of your reach, and you're told not to try and pursue these kind of stories because you don't have the resources to actually make them work. Now, I have an issue with the fact that we as small independent creators have very little in the way of distribution potential. And this is in an era where we have the most potential for distribution that we have ever had. No more do we need to hope for a production house to take us on board and chuck $200,000 into post-production, as happened with Peter Jackson's directorial debut Bad Taste, which was a film that, again, cost somewhere in the realm of $7,000 if you disregard the post-production money. So $7,000, right? New Zealand, so call it, I don't know, $4,000, let's say $5,000 just to make it even, right? And that is a film that looks so bad by our current standards because of our approach as audience members to film. We expect perfect cinematography, we expect perfect sound, we expect there to not be like a little shadow here on the corner of the face, and we expect all of this to kind of, aesthetic kind of stuff to be deeply rooted into whatever we make, even if we are trying to tell quite an ugly and down-to-earth quite story about people just like yourself and just like me that have very little money, that are just bumming around trying to do the best they can. And I have an issue with the fact that as filmmakers and as creatives in general, we are pushed to make a certain kind of thing with the resources that we have available to us. What do we have access to? We have access to our friends, we have access to, anyone that can come down for free. We have access to, the few locations that we have. Maybe if you go to a pub quite frequently, you can get access to that. But even then, that's something that requires an awful lot of money, because you need to go to the pub and create a rapport with the pub landlord, with the managers, with the staff. So you need to go in there and buy pints again and again and again and actually stay there. And it is nice to live in that sort of pub community, but at the same time, in an economy where it costs about £4 per pint minimum, that is not sustainable for the average broke person like myself. So a lot of artists are pushed towards certain forms of expression. So we are often pushed away from filmmaking and pushed towards stuff like writing novels and writing non-fiction, or drawing or painting and stuff like this. Whereas other forms of art, like music and like film and like theatre, are something that you can do only if you have the resources to do them. And the reason that it's been like this, and it's been getting more like this in the past sort of 20 years, is because we have had a big issue with our own workers' rights slowly being eroded over the past 40, 50 years in the United Kingdom at least. Different story for America. I don't know exactly what the story is there. Some Americans can sort of fill me in on what's going on over there. So yeah, I just think that I don't have a solution to any of this. I am just venting, I am just ranting, and I don't have all the answers, and I don't have a solution to this. And it certainly is, the politics of envy slightly, what I'm talking about, oh, I don't have the resources to make what I want to make. Why doesn't someone just give me the resources? And it's, like I haven't earned those resources. I haven't earned that because I haven't had the track record to actually do those kind of things. Whereas certain other artists have had that track record where people actually want to invest in them. But I think part of the problem is that because the audience has been had it drilled into them to expect you know, high production value, to expect lots of actors in the background, to expect everything to sort of go along perfectly and to feel like some kind of a higher version of real life, which is slightly better than real life, rather than just capturing the reality as it actually happens. It's not good enough to just have audio like this. You need to have a boom pole up ahead, so that means you need to get sound guys in. Sound guys are expensive, sound guys, and even like, you know, some of the sound guys that I've worked with in the past, as amazing as they've been, it changes the nature of a film set to make it more of this business, workplace-like thing, rather than this small, creative playground to actually kind of do what you want to do. And I feel like low-budget filmmaking has an awful lot to offer in terms of freeing the creator up to tell the story that they want to tell, just simply down to the fact that you can do things on the fly. You can make things as you go along, rather than having to have everything planned out beforehand, which, I've said it before, it sterilizes the film that you're actually making. It sterilizes what you're trying to create, and it sterilizes the end product, because you've put so much effort into making it all look so crisp and clean and slick and perfect. And I don't particularly like that, and I don't particularly think that it's the way forwards. I see the way forwards in film being a democratized world where, in terms of the film community, where people can come together on a much smaller scale and make films with maybe just a couple people, just doing a couple little things, and just doing small scale projects that can tell very large stories, you know? If you want to make a sci-fi thing, you could do like some stop motion kind of thing. You know, it doesn't have to be at 30 frames a second, 24 frames a second, or 12 frames a second. You could do it at like 6 frames a second. As long as you're telling an interesting tale and a captivating story with an interesting narrative and characters, then you've kind of got everything that you need. And the fact that it doesn't look like a big Hollywood set is not the important thing. I mean, some people kind of like the cheesy, small-scale budget kind of thing, because it adds so much to the charm of what's going on, and I see that as the future. We've got a charming world of film ahead of us, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I do have positive opinions on the future of film. I do think it's going to go in a good direction with the slow decline of the Hollywood system and the incline, the mass adoption of small-scale filmmaking, which has started already via YouTube, via TikTok, and all these other things, where people make what they want to make on a small scale and they put it out to the world themselves, doing it that way. But we still have a long way to go, and I really hope that we can continue this trend and actually continue to go in a positive direction, because I do think that we are going in a positive direction. I don't want this to be a video about moaning, because I have issues that I have with the industry at large, but I think they're slowly, very slowly being rectified, and I hope for future generations that they will be able to create very freely and do what they want to do. So yeah, that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for watching this. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and just, yeah, go out there and create, and don't let your limitations bog you down, because we have a good future ahead of us as creatives. And yeah, if you've been told, you know, don't make a film, write a book. If you find yourself enjoying writing the book, yeah, write the book. But if you really feel this passion and this drive to make the film, then make it. That's going to be all. Take care. Bye-bye. I had to have these on because it's fucking, the sun's there. There we are. Hey up everybody. My name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, a film that was made by humans for humans. But is that necessarily what art is all about? Is art necessarily a human expression, inherently human, or is it something that all species, no matter the sentience, are capable of producing? So throughout history, since cavemen, you know, the dawn of man, we have engaged in art, from little paintings on the wall to statues in ancient Greece and Rome and that kind of thing, to Renaissance paintings, to modern film and television. I've left so much out of that because the history of art is just so complex and so detailed, and there's so much going on that I couldn't possibly do it justice, even with a 10-hour video and 4, 5, 6 years of education that I don't have on the subject. So that's why I'm not going to talk about that. What I want to talk about is something that I've been thinking about for the past about 7 or 8 years actually, is art necessarily something that humans are intrinsically, it's an intrinsically human thing to create art? And can art also be cross-species, as in, can one species make art for the purposes of another? I think to answer that question very simply, yes, because if you go on YouTube and you look up like music for dogs or like music to calm your dog down, stuff like that, well, straight away it's there. It's music made by one species for another. Hell, even a dog whistle is technically like a weird form of art. It's a very uncomfortable piece of art. It's like harsh noise, like the snail dilemma or something like that, or like Merzbow for dogs, essentially. Yeah, I'm not saying that dog whistles are a form of art. I am saying though that one species can make art for another, and it's not necessarily that humans have to make art for other humans. Now, the topic of is AI generated creations, are they art, has been sort of going around for the past couple of years, and it's quite a I can't remember the word. It's an issue for people, and people, you know, either agree that art is human or they disagree and they think art is not necessarily human and that AI can make art. I'm on the side that AI can make art. However, that isn't to say that I like AI and I like the progression of AI and the future of humanity that will come from it. I think that there is only death and destruction ahead because of AI. However, that's not to say that it can't make art. Because humans are also capable of death and destruction and genocide and horrors beyond our wildest dreams, but they can also create beautiful works of art. Look at Roman Polanski, certified paedophile. However, he's also made Rosemary's Baby. He also made The Pianist after he was caught out. So evil things and evil people can make great works of art. So that's a topic for another day, separating the art from the artist. But in terms of can AI make art? Yes, I do think it can. And do I think other species are capable of making art? Look at, for instance, the monkey that stole that guy's camera and he took a selfie with it. And then what happened was the photographer tried to gain the rights to that image, but the court said, well, you didn't take the picture, the monkey took the picture, it's the monkey's picture. And because monkeys are incapable of holding copyright, that means that the image is automatically in the public domain. So there's the image. I can use it, and they can't get a copyright strike or anything. So, yeah, art, I think, the example I like to use is, say aliens came to Earth, right? Say the spaceship landed right over there, and the aliens came out, and they're little blue men with weird little helmets on, and they talk in a babbly language, and then the first thing they do is they show up a screen, and they show you their latest work. It's not a film, it's not a book, it's not TV, it's not theatre, it's something entirely outside of our imagination, right? And we sit down and we watch it, we are entertained, we are moved by it in some emotional way. Who are we to say to those aliens that what they made and showed for us is not art? What is it? Is it a presentation? Is it entertainment? Well, isn't entertainment inherently art as well? Isn't even newspapers and journalism a form of art? Aren't all these things a form of art? Isn't, as long as it's being replicated for the sake of some kind of emotional response, even if that emotional response is, you know, I mean, you got reality TV, for instance, that's not designed to make you like really tear up or really move you in any kind of way. It's kind of just have white noise on while you're maybe doing your cooking or you're doing something else or you're cleaning or whatever, you know. It's just white noise to have on, but it's also a form of expression that you can give more attention or less attention and get different levels of response out of it depending on what you feed into it. Exactly the same way as the most art house intellectual film, paintings, etc., where you've got to really analyze it to get the emotional resonance, because the emotional response comes from how connected you feel to it on a personal level, rather than it being entertainment that is fed into your ears and your eyes and that kind of thing. I mean, for instance, I don't know the answer to this one, right? This is just a question I'm asking for the comments. Please put your response in the comments below. Do you think that food is a form of art? I don't know. I'm leaning towards yes. You know, like a proper culinary meal. But even McDonald's, you know, not necessarily good. It's the same way that the Transformers movies aren't good, but it's still there. It's still something that can be consumed for an emotional response. You know, you have a McDonald's and you're like, oh, especially if you've been out on a lash and you find a McDonald's on your way home and you're like, you know, you're munching your way through that Big Mac or whatever, and you're like, yeah, and like that. I don't actually like the Big Macs. whatsoever. They taste fucking awful. But that's still an emotional response. It's still an emotional response. So who's to say that these things aren't art? Is the dam that a beaver makes, is that not architecture? And is architecture not a form of art? Would you say that the Sistine Chapel is not a work of art in the architecture and the beauty that kind of comes from it? And just the same way that that shithole looking bridge right there that's made out of wood and nothing else, would you say that's not a work of art? Because if the Sistine Chapel is a work of art, then what makes that not a work of art? They're both forms of architecture. Just because it's not as high quality doesn't make it not art. The same way that, you know, your average new build block of flats is not any less architecture than the Louvre or whatever, right? Or the Eiffel Tower, or the Burj Khalifa, or these magnificent structures that are designed to overwhelm the senses and make you go, Jesus, bloody hell, that's impressive. So, sorry about the noise, there's some people that are doing some work behind the camera. So in terms of what humans can and can't do and what other species can or can't do, obviously the beavers making a dam aren't going to be making as high quality works of art as humans can, because our abilities and our access to tools and resources are fundamentally different. They're on such different scales that we can't even process it properly. Because can you try and live like a beaver for a week? I fucking can't. I don't know how to do any of that stuff, and I don't have the claws for it. But anyway, getting back to whether art is inherently human, not necessarily just can AI make art, but can other species in general make art? Because is AI not some kind of weird species that we can't classify yet, that, you know, doesn't have DNA, it's made of code and computerized like bits of binary and stuff like that? I don't know necessarily how all of this is going to form into a new scientific consensus for the nature of life and existence in going forward into the future. But if AI is able to gain a something that we could consider human-ish sentience, then we're going to have to compete with AI's art, whether you consider it art or not. You're going to have to compete with the film that an AI spat out, just the same way as you have to compete with your fellow filmmakers now. So what is the answer to all this? Can AI make art? I think yes. Can other species make art? I think yes. Can aliens make art? I think yes. What is art? I think my definition for art is, can it be something that is replicatable, that can create some kind of emotional trigger response, whether that be positive or negative, and is it something concrete? Now, those are definitions that people would challenge all the time. Like, for instance, the band Bill of Heaven. They like to work with extreme long-form bits of music. Like, they had this one, I can't remember the name of it. It was an album that is something like 800 times the length of the universe. Like, you know, I'm talking like this is an album that is hundreds of trillions of years long, right? But how is it not art? Just because it's not something that you can consume in its entirety, you can only take a little nibble of it. Say if you had a cheese wheel the size of like New York City, you could only take a few bites out of it before you pass out from just sheer exhaustion. But is it not still like an incredible piece of cheese just because you could only take in a little bit of it and not all of it? I mean, you could take that Bill of Heaven album, speed it up by 8 gazillion times and listen to it in the course of half an hour. It would sound like crap, but you could do that. So who's to say that it's not consumable? And who's to say that that adoption and that change and that almost remixing of it isn't then in of itself art as well? Because all artistic expression is an evolution of what came before. The current landscape of the media is a reflection of what the landscape of the media was 20 years ago, which was the same as what it was 40 years ago, and so on and so on and so on. We're doing a call and response. So at the moment we're in this kind of postmodern sort of era, where everything is kind of semi-self-referential, but we're also kind of transitioning away from that into this more earnest and small-scale kind of thing. But the original postmodern movement was a reflection of, you know, films that were played very straight, your bog-standard action movie, but now people are bored of the bog-standard action movie, so they need to add some kind of twist to make it interesting. Something that changes it up, because people are now familiar with the format and the formulas, and they are bored of the same old, and they need something that at least feels kind of new. So art is such an extremely complex entity, and I don't think it can be confined to the expression of one species. I don't think that any type of species is incapable of making art. It's just not capable of making art that we can necessarily wrap our heads around. If I draw a circle, is that not art? Is it necessarily I drew the circle while I had suicidal thoughts and that backstory makes the circle more interesting? Or say if I drew the circle because I was on an acid trip and it was like the circle was like the circle of life to me that I was drawing down. It's still just a circle at the end of the day. So it's up to the audience and the artist what they want the thing to be. Like, you've got the death of the artist, right, where the artist's original intention isn't necessarily as important as the audience's impression. So say if I drew a circle whilst I was having this insane acid trip and I thought I was drawing the meaning of life, and I put so much emphasis into it, and then other people look at it and all they take away from it is, it's a circle, who gives a shit? It's still something that had that artistic impression and artistic instinct behind it to actually create something like that, even if it was something that in reality wasn't necessarily of good quality. So it's such a complex form, and there's no amount of lifetimes that all the people in the world could live that could explain it all in any kind of scientific way, because I feel like art is intrinsically outside of the scope of objectivity. There is nothing objective about any kind of art, because even if you make a film that everyone agrees is awful and like no one agrees that it's good, that's not to say that it is necessarily a bad film. Everyone 1,000 years ago believed in Catholicism. That doesn't make Catholicism true, does it? Just because everyone believed in it, just because everyone thinks this film's crap doesn't make the film crap. It makes it whatever it is. It means that people don't like it. It means that people consider it a bad film, but that doesn't make it a bad film. And I think people get lost in that when they talk about, oh, this film's bad, this film's good. And people assume that to mean that they are talking about it in an objective form, in an objective way, when really they're not. And they should always have those little parentheses of, I think, I consider, I believe. You know, when you see an interview with someone and they've got those little parentheses that kind of add the little filler words that they, meant to say, but they kind of didn't. You know, if I say, oh yeah, me and Bill were working on this thing, they might add like Bill's last name in the brackets so that people can understand. Consider when people talk about art and they review stuff, imagine they just said, I think, before every single sentence, because it is so subjective. And I think that it is cross-species. I think that it's a form that goes beyond the self, and it goes beyond us as humanity, as a single human species. It is universal to every single species out there, and every species response to art will be different, and every species type of art will remain different. And I think as we go into the future and we inevitably find aliens in the massive universe that's out there, our eyes will open to the potential forms that we could experiment with that we have no idea about at this current day, because our own evolution and our own mindset and our own abilities as people now are incapable of even processing this form of art that is higher than what we could even possibly imagine. Because that's all art really is. It's imagination personified. I think that's going to be it from me. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching. Put your own thoughts about AI, humans, art, shit like that. Put it in the thing below. And thank you so much for watching this. Have a great rest of the day. Take care. Love you all. And if you find any aliens that have made a film, do let me know and I'll add it to my folk films playlist. That's going to be all from me. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Copy. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the folk filmmaking movement, which is for me a very inspirational movement of film that has really helped to make me figure out kind of my approach to film, and probably has helped an awful lot of other people. And today I would like to talk a little bit about it and some few various films that I've enjoyed from this movement in particular. So this movement kind of started in 2020 during the pandemic. What happened was a lot of people were suddenly stuck at home, and they had their equipment and they had, you know, the few people they were isolating with, and it kind of became this thing to just try and make something and not worry about perfecting it, because you didn't even have the opportunity to chase perfectionism with the pandemic. You couldn't make something that was absolutely perfect. You couldn't go out there and do everything in the absolute best way. You couldn't, because it was illegal to actually do that. So all you could do is make use of the resources that you had available to you. And so a lot of people got their start around 2020 and became quite, you know, started to build up a bit of success doing this kind of thing, where they would just make a film. And these films were often made improvised or with very minimal script, with quite few people, maybe just one person behind the camera, just wearing lav mics, just like I am. And you know, the whole film would play out in a very naturalistic and very human feeling way. And it was a nice way of tapping into a mode of film that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. And you know, we've had movements before, like French New Wave was very naturalistic and very humanistic. And then we had the 90s indie movement that led to stuff like Clerks, for instance. And then you've got the sort of early 2000s, late 2000s, you had The Man from Earth, which was the first film that was released on torrent by its director. And if you find a copy of the film, you'll see it starts with him doing a bit of piece to camera, where he just sort of says that this is the world's biggest experiment in you know, people just in honesty and people trying to be honest. So, you know, actually do buy that film, go out and buy it. You can pay whatever you want for it. It's, you know, there's no limit, I don't think. And that in turn led to the folk filmmaking movement, which is a very small and very scrappy form of filmmaking, where most of the films in that scene cost anywhere from $0 or pounds up to like maybe 500, maybe £1,000 here and there. Say if you wanted to get some cool props, or if you wanted a specific thing to happen that you couldn't have made happen otherwise, if you wanted to get a certain camera for a certain look, that kind of thing. The figurehead of this movement is a guy called Joel Haver, and he got his start about 10 years ago. He went to film school, and then he started making these skits and these various videos on YouTube, these short films. He made loads of them. He made one a week, and he did that for about 9 years. So he's got honestly hundreds and hundreds of these short films, so many little experiments, just trying different things out and doing it with his friends and with people that he loves. And this year he took a step away from actually making those short films, and he's dedicated himself to making 12 feature films in 12 months. So far he's on 6, and I'm very excited to see what he's going to do with the final 6, especially as he's not got very long left. So that's going to be a fun challenge, and it's going to be interesting to see what he does within that challenge and within those limitations. And I've seen 3 of them. The one that stuck out to me the most was a film called The Hero's Journey, aka The Caleb Johnston Story, brackets, I'm Caleb. And it's a film that's all about this guy who he's archiving his life quite obsessively, and he's always videoing himself, and he's always videoing the interactions that he has with other people. And he's living out of his car, and he's kind of just trying to get by and try and make enough money to feed himself and get petrol for the next set of days. And it's a fun little sort of film that just follows this one character from this one point of view. And I love films like that, where it just follows this one personality, and the film kind of lives and dies on that singular personality. And in this case, I think he really hit the ball out of the park with Caleb Johnston. He is such a cool character to watch. And he reminds me a little bit of myself and probably a lot of my friends as well. If you were raised to be a teenager sort of from 2009 to say 2014, that kind of era, you were very into like Black Ops and Halo and PlayStation and video games and maybe Minecraft and stuff like that. And it feels like Caleb Johnston is a representation of that kind of person, but they never grew up, and now they're 30 years old and they're still like that now. And you see how that kind of personality would alienate adults. And it's a really fun story to watch. I really recommend you watch it. I'm going to put a link in the description so that you can check that film out. It's on YouTube, and that's another thing about the folk filmmaking movement, is that all the films are free to watch on YouTube, and that's a big part of it. It's all about freedom of access and freedom to share this work for as many people to see as possible. It's about making films that people can see, rather than films that are locked behind a paywall or are locked away on someone's hard drive, or like behind a password on a Vimeo unlisted video, that kind of thing. As someone who does a fair bit of casting, and so I've had to cast probably like 100 or so actors in my life, and I've gone through many CVs, many show reels, and I've seen a bit in the show reel where it's like, oh, that looks like a really interesting film, and the name of the film will be in the bottom corner. And so I Google the name of it, and I can't find anything about it. Or I might find an IMDb page, and I can't watch the film. I can't even see a trailer or anything like that. And I wonder, well, why create? Why make stuff at that point if people can't see it? Why have so many people come together for this purpose of a vision if the vision is locked behind a paywall and is enclosed in a dark room where no one can see in or see out? And that's why I like the folk filmmaking movement, is that it encourages people to just do and to try, and even if they fail, there's wonder to be had in exploring that failure, because there's so many films out there that are really scrappy, that are filmed on phones, that are filmed with actors that don't know how to act, that are filmed, with people that don't know how to frame a shot and all that kind of stuff. The sound is terrible and all these kind of things. But at the same time, they went out and they made it. They did that, and I think that in itself is a form of beauty, because you try that again and again and again, and you will get better and better as time goes on, as long as you keep pushing yourself to try new things and to keep experimenting and to learn from your past mistakes. And I think that's where the idea of doing these films quickly kind of comes in, rather than taking... A lot of these filmmakers are people that have that one project that they've been working on for a long time. A guy called Dan Lotz, he's another big proponent of the filmmaking scene. He also had his shot at the 12 features in 12 months thing. And he originally came into film with a feature film that he spent a long time making called The Long Con. And he ended up releasing it on YouTube, but it was meant to go to like film festivals and all this various stuff. And I don't think Dan Lotz, not to speak for him, but I don't think he says that that's one of his best films. I think he probably sees it as one of his lesser films. But the films that he made much faster after that, stuff like Chlorine or Sheep Theatre, are probably, not to speak for him, are much more dear to him. And they're the ones that ended up taking off, and they're the ones that people think of when they think of someone like Dan Lotz of 922 Films. And I've seen both The Long Con and I've seen Chlorine. I haven't seen Sheep Theatre. And yeah, Chlorine is a much better film than The Long Con. Even though The Long Con has better movements with the camera, it has slightly better sound in places, and it feels more well put together. But all that extra effort, I don't think resulted in a film that had a naturally better story and a better emotional resonance than Chlorine, which was something that was made in a much more scrappy, kind of fast way. And that's why I'm making this film, Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, because it is an experiment into trying things, bringing the fun back into filmmaking. I've done films where I've gotten the big set together and I've gotten everything together, and it feels like you start to take the fun out of it when you start to take it so seriously that you live and die by this singular project. And the stakes get raised, and it means that you're over-analysing all the failures that can kind of come from it, and like, what happens if this doesn't take off? You've spent all this time and it's not going to take off. And I know I haven't finished Sheffield Psychedelic, but I think that Sheffield Psychedelic is going to be my Long Con. It's going to be that thing that I put all this effort into, and it was that stepping stone that allowed me to enter the filmmaking world with previous experience, and that I can learn from the lessons that I was taught doing that project. And it's, as I've been saying in all my videos, it's better to try and to fail than it is to never try at all. And so I want to recommend a couple other films from Joel Haver in particular. The Text, which is part of his Oscars, filming a film during the Oscars, which I think is so cool. It's such like punk filmmaking to me. It's like you've got the bourgeoisie of film, which is the Oscars, and they all sit around and they jerk themselves off over how brilliant they are, and like, ooh, Steven Spielberg did this another magnum opus, and ooh, Martin Scorsese's done another 3.5-hour thing that's all well put together with all these massive stars and everything so slick and stylized and all that kind of stuff. And in the time it takes to sit and have that party and have those speeches where you're just talking about how brilliant you all are, you have there's opportunity to create. So you can create a film in 3 hours. And you can do it, and people have done it. There's every year for the past, I think, 4 years they've been doing this. They have gotten so many responses. They've gotten hundreds of films every single time. And I've not seen even close to even a small section of them. I've skipped through a fair few of them, and I've watched maybe 2. And they are fun. They are a fun experiment. I don't think that you can necessarily get a full holistic experience out of it. You can't get a true grandiose vision out of it. This is a chance to make smaller scale projects. This is a chance to really tap into certain feelings that can be quite hard to explain with lots of blocking and with lots of action and that kind of thing, with lots of time, because it's a nice chance to capture a singular moment and a singular thought process and a singular mentality, sorry. And it's a good opportunity to explore different facets of your own personality, your own worldview, and ideas that you don't maybe want to dedicate to, months and months or possibly years of your life to, but it's nice to dedicate a day to it and to know that you've done that and to have done that. And so next year I do plan to make a film in 3 hours during the Oscars, and I think that I would like to see more folk films, and I would like to see folk films start to really take off and start to become something that is part of the mainstream. I'd love for like a Christopher Nolan or Martin Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino type auteur figure to have their shot at making a film in 3 hours, or making a film in a week, or making a film with nothing, and just trying something for the fun of it and taking things back to basics. Because when you follow a band and they've started getting really into their big experiments, and then they do that one album where they just maybe it's a self-titled and they use it as just a chance to just strip everything back and go back to their roots. It's a nice chance to go back to your roots and try approaching that with the hindsight that you have developed from your various journeys, because you will have a different journey to another viewer of this video from another viewer, and it's such a nice way of expressing yourself, and that's what it's all about, really. That's why people make and create, and it's so that they can express themselves in various ways. That's why people make content, is so that they can express themselves. Even if the first primary goal of them is to make money, if they're one of those that is just trying to make money, they would still like to express themselves, and they still try, and even if they're trying just a little bit or not enough. And so I think I would like to close this video off just by saying I love the passion that's coming from this community, and I love the way that people are coming together to try something new that the filmmakers of the past would sneer at and look at like that's a lesson in failure. Like when I went to media college, these are the kind of things that my teachers would have said, no, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, it has to be done this way or this way and this way. And I don't think it necessarily does. And as long as you're breaking the rules for a reason, and you know why you're breaking the rules, and you've got a good vision of what you want to make, then doing things quickly can actually be better, because it means that you have more of an opportunity to get that singular moment down rather than trying to sustain that vision for a long period of time, which you can't necessarily do because your vision will change over time. If you make a film over the course of a year, you're inevitably going to see the film differently a year from now compared to when you first started. It's just the way that the dice is rolled, because that's the way that people go through life. They change, and things happen to them that change their worldview and their perspective on things. And if you're not doing that, then that's something you need to start doing, because if you are just stuck in that singular vision and that singular moment, then you're not growing as a person, and you need to always be growing as a person, and that's very important to do. And I think to sort of round this video off, go watch the Caleb Johnson story. It's very scrappy to look at first, and you might think, oh, it's a bit, amateur looking, but give it some time and you'll really get sucked into that world. It's such a fun world. with various characters. I'm not going to talk much more about it because he's someone that likes to, I think you should go into it with very little knowledge about the film. And Joel Haver is someone who doesn't like making trailers, he doesn't like spoiling films before they're released. I'm kind of the opposite. I don't really mind spoiling stuff. I don't really get bothered by spoilers particularly. Unless it's like you're about to sit down and watch a film and then someone says, there's a twist here, and then that twist is on your mind. But if someone told you there was a twist a few weeks ago, that's not a problem to me. So I'm a bit more spoilerific in that kind of way. I don't really mind spoilers. And so when the film comes out, it's not about the end goal. It's not about where the story leads. It's about the journey and you know, the little steps that you take along the way to get to that end goal and that end point. So life is about the journey, not about the destination, as they always say. And yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to discuss. I wanted to discuss the filmmaking movement and Joel Haver in particular because he's a big inspiration of mine. He's someone that has really, I mean, in fact, I would sort of owe a lot of this channel to him and the way that he kind of does video. He's not about perfecting everything. He's not about getting everything done to a T and embracing the little imperfections. Before I would have done everything in my power to ensure that there weren't any perfections. There weren't any imperfections. And now I'm much more happy to allow those things to take root and to, you know, be part of the experience, because they are there. And if you're not, and if that little part, you know, if the camera jiggles and you go, oh, the camera jiggled, and you sort of think, oh, I'm not really into this anymore, then you probably weren't too into it to begin with. You weren't really enjoying it anyway. And if that didn't take you out of it, something else would have, that, you know, would have been part of the singular perfected vision. So, yeah. Don't worry so much about, you know, getting everything done exactly the way that you think it should be done, because if you try and chase that, then you'll end up doing very little. And it's better to do and to fail than it is to not do at all. So yeah, I think I'm going to close out the video with that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do check out the Joel Haver films, check out Doom Productions as well. They're another really good channel where they do a lot of filmmaking updates and they have a really fun perspective on film. And check out another guy called The Don't Tell Show. He's been doing films since the late 90s, where and he always seems like he's having so much fun with it. If you see his old films, it really feels like, you know, teenagers that were going out and enjoying themselves making this. It felt like they had fun, and that's nice to see. And he's still going out and having fun now. Check out my friend John Henry Westhead. He's got a film coming out soon called Steve the Stammer's Missing Painting. Really, really fun film about this painter who's a bit of an insular type character, and about the journey of one of his paintings and where that painting goes. And that's a really great film. I really enjoyed working on it. It's so much fun. And it's not out yet. It's out sometime soon. I'll do a video about it once it comes out and you know, kind of advertise it a little bit. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this. Have a great rest of the day. Go out and just record something or just make something little. Try something. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work, but at least you've made it. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about my VGA. It's not actually a VGA cable, it's a DVI-D cable. So I went to turn my computer on this morning after having been using it regularly the night before with no issues. I went to turn it on this morning, and I think this might be the issue, because the monitor works, the PC works, but the two together do not. And that can be quite frustrating, to be honest, because I do have a backlog now for once. I actually have a backlog of videos, and I can't use it. I can't use my own backlog because it's all on the computer, half edited, and I can't access the computer without the monitor. I can use the laptop. However, that would mean that I would have to re-edit all the videos from scratch. It would also mean that I would have to make proxy files out of them, which is just, it'd be faster to just make new videos at that point. So that's what I'm doing now, making some new videos. little bit of a pain, if I've got to be honest. But you know, you do come into your hardships, you come into your troubled times, and that's kind of part of it. That's kind of part of the beauty of doing this kind of thing. And just doing it so consistently every day is you see the peaks and valleys, you see when I've got more resources, you see when I've got less. I did do a video about that exact topic when my tripod head broke, which is why a lot of the shots now have been taking place from quite low angles, because I'm just placing the thing on the floor and using the lens cap to sort of prop the camera up slightly so it tilts upwards a little bit. So that kind of works for that. So don't let resources get in the way. You know, I just do everything into a phone, and that's a brilliant way of doing it. I think the sound sounds pretty good on these. It's not, you know, it's not like podcast quality or anything. I'm not trying to say that, but I think they're pretty decent. For 50 quid a pop, they are pretty good. And you know what? I broke one. I was sitting down and I had it on, and it was sort of, I unplugged it from here and it was dangling down here, and I trod on it as I stood up, and that kind of fucked with it. So little bit annoying that. Wasn't too keen. But you know what? That's kind of the sort of thing that happens. You're going to get hardships, you're going to get hard times. Not just with regards to equipment and so on, but with regards to your life in general. You know, say you go through a death in the family halfway through making your big movie or whatever, you know. You've got to deal with that. You can't just use making the film as some form of just escapism, because then you're not making art for any healthy reason. You're not doing it to express yourself. You're doing it to hide yourself from pain and anguish. And the whole point of making film isn't necessarily to showcase pain and anguish, but it is to sort of help alleviate it a little bit, to try and get that real part of your soul out there that you feel like isn't out there at the moment. But you get inspiration from other things. You're like, that feels close to my voice, but I want to get all the way there. That's why I want to actually do something. That's why I've got the drive to actually create something of worth. And that's nice. It's nice to be able to create things. It's really lovely to keep just doing these videos, and I enjoy seeing the little peaks and valleys. You can see when I've got like something good going on. You can see when I'm in a bit of a down sort of day. You can see, you know, when I've got more resources. You can see when I had a lot of time, because I had the time to put the suit on and go to more like exotic locations and that kind of thing, rather than this fucking car park. You know, like I'm sat in a Sainsbury's car park right now, and that's why I keep looking over my sholders, because I feel like any moment a security guard's going to come walking up to me and ask me to leave politely, which of course I will. But you know, it's fun doing these videos. I really enjoy doing them. And yeah, I just wanted to give a little update, because VGA, it's not a VGA cable, it's a DVI-D cable. These are apparently not the common thing anymore. These are apparently not what you use nowadays. Apparently now it's all HDMI, but for some reason my computer's 10 years old. I really do need to get a new one at some point, which I'm not going to do, because it does work. When it's plugged in. When it's plugged in, it actually works, but when it's not, it's a load of crap. And probably swinging this around like this isn't helping, but you know, look, watch. Look, you see how this, you might not be able to see because the shot's quite far away, but this one doesn't have anything there, so it's fucked. And it's been like this for like 4 years, so I'm kind of amazed that it went on this long. But come on, could you not have done this before I started the YouTube channel? Could you not have done this when I, you know, wasn't uploading 2 videos a day? Something like that, when I would have had time to sort these things out. I've been walking up and down the Broadway just trying to find a DVI-D cable. I've been into every single computer shop. I went into Cash Converters. He pulled out a VGA cable, and I was like, oh, cool, how much was it? How much is it? And he said, no, I'm not selling it. I'm just going to give it to you. I'm like, that's really nice of you. I don't need it, because it's useless to me. I've already got VGA cables. Apparently VGA cables are even older than these fucking things. And I don't see why they need to keep making new things. What was wrong with this, right? It's got little screw-in things. Obviously one fell off, so, you know, I get that. But like HDMI, what's so special about HDMI? Is it just the HD part of the MI? HD, I don't know what that means. But I don't know, input, obviously, I suppose. But I don't know. It can be a little bit frustrating dealing with these little technical hurdles, but you know, that's kind of part of it. That's kind of the point of making stuff so frequently. You know, like, I like seeing bands that make lots of music, and you know when a band will do that thing where they'll release kind of 2 albums quite close together. One is the one that they spent all the time on and perfecting and polishing. That's the one that they went to the studio for. And the other one they might record in like while they're on tour in hotel rooms and stuff. Gorillaz is a perfect example of this. Plastic Beach was the proper album. What is that fucking noise? The Plastic Beach was the proper album, and then you had The Fool, which was the one that they just kind of recorded in little hotel rooms and stuff. And I quite like The Fool. I mean, it's not as good as Plastic Beach, but I mean, it's hard to beat Plastic Beach, to be honest. It's got some good songs on it that obviously now I've been put on the spot. I can't remember fucking any of them. I remember Empire Ants, that's good. Yeah, stuff like that. In general though, yeah, that's the kind of thing, is that you see the same creative process, but with more or less resources. And you can create just as good a product, if not a better one, with the limitations that are actually being used. So yeah, I hope that this has been of some kind of use, seeing the flaws and the issues with this bastard in cable. Like, imagine doing skipping rope with that. It'd be terrible. So, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Trying to stop it swinging so it doesn't whack me in the back of the head. Right, cheers. See ya. Most casual video ever, that. Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza and director Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about this weird feeling that I've just gotten. So today I went out to do this interview kind of thing with someone who's really, really nice, and like, I really want to emphasize that it wasn't because of anything to do with that person. Like, they were really lovely, we had a really nice time going around filming this interview. It was really good, you know, and I enjoyed doing it. I did enjoy doing it, but I think I started to get a lot of these little anxieties of like, as this channel grows, it's realizing in my head, it's materializing in my head, and it's becoming this sort of thing like, I'm developing this sense of responsibility unto my audience. I mean, not just in the sense that I'm making 2 videos a day, but I need to also make sure that I don't, for instance, feed misinformation or disinformation. I don't want to, like, you know, I always talk about I don't want to get things wrong. Maybe that's okay with an audience of like 1,000, but say if I had like 100,000, I don't know what's going to happen with this channel. That's not out of the realms of possibility. And, you know, when I get to like 100,000 subscribers and like these videos get like 30,000 a pop, what do I do then? The effort that goes into them will probably end up needing to increase. I'm not really sure. And then there's also the sort of thing, it feels really arrogant to say, like kind of prima donna to say, but you know, like at some point people are going to start stopping me in the street and sort of going, are you Jonny Mozza? Are you like Josh, are you guy that does the videos? Oh, I've seen all your videos, man, I'm such a big fan, and all that sort of stuff. There's people developing parasocial relationships with me, and it's cool in a way. And I like it, I do like it. And I really appreciate all the really lovely comments from people. And like, when people give a comment that like is like, oh, you've really inspired me and stuff, it does kind of make me emotional. And it makes me feel really, really like happy. But it's sort of like, I don't know, it's unsettling in a fun way. These are existential challenges that I need to overcome, I think, as this has become real. It started to feel real. Like this isn't grassroots anymore, and it is. So I need to make sure I don't get beyond my station in that regard. And I don't know how to balance that, because I've never had media training, as you believe it or not, I've never had media training. So, you know, I don't know what to say in front of the camera and what not to. That's another thing that scares me, is like the idea that the culture changes. Like I was saying to the person I was doing this interview with on the way back, say if I was doing these videos in 2016 and the culture of YouTube in 2016, now everything was all edgy and edgelord sort of stuff. Imagine if I was doing that and I was following whatever trend that was, and look at how terribly those videos would age. What if these videos age just the same way, and you know, the things that I say now aren't acceptable in the future? That idea kind of freaks me out. And like, you know, people will be picking up on what I say. At some point people are going to start doing response videos on me, and like, you know, picking out at like things I say, and like noticing like discrepancies between like various videos when I vaguely talk about the same thing. It's like, oh, he contradicted himself. I am a walking contradiction in all regards, and that is kind of like what life is, because you come to new realizations, you learn and you develop and you grow, and that kind of changes your mindset and your attitude towards things. And like my attitude now is completely different from 3 years ago. And if I was making these videos 3 years ago, you'd be getting a different message out of it. Same way as 3 years from now, you'd be getting a different message. And that's another thing is, am I the real me? Is this the real me? Is it? I'm not sure. What's the real me? Is it the real me that when I'm off the camera? Because I don't change that much when I get off the camera. You know, like I talk to myself a little bit. You know, I still do the, oh, shut up at the planes and like that kind of stuff. I don't know. It really kind of freaks me out. And I've kind of been grappling with it because it's all hit me in the past half an hour. And I had to make a video just to try and wrestle with this quite existential idea. I don't think if existential is the right word. I think I'm worried about the idea that people are gonna take the wrong thing from my videos, because I try and give motivation. I try and make people realize that they are more powerful than they think. And that seems to be a really intoxicating message. And what if it stops being about the message and just starts being about, I don't know, like chasing the algorithm or something like that? Could I do what I do if I had 10 million subscribers? Or like, would I just end up like Joe Rogan or some shit like that, where I'm just like spouting off whatever bollocks that I happen to believe, but because I've got an army of people that follow me, they all start believing the same shit I think, and they all start parroting it around, and that's how we end up with the bloody world that we got now. I don't know what's gonna happen with this channel, and I'm really intrigued as to what is the future for it, because, you know, maybe I'm just getting way beyond my station here. Maybe I'm getting really arrogant and like, you know, oh, look at the big man with the big channel, you know, 1,400 subs. Oh, look, he got like 6,000 views on a video. Isn't he a fucking celebrity? It's like, not really, but like, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger from what I can tell, because this is only a month in. I am really excited. I am really genuinely excited. Please don't take what I'm saying now as like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore or anything like that, because I'm not gonna stop. I'm absolutely not, but I do have to grapple with these things. I have to figure out what the future is in the way that my relationship is with the audience and my relationship with myself and my relationship with the videos themselves, you know, and sort of figure out what the hell am I actually going to do going forwards? Is it going to be a case of I'm going to become like, there'll be like a video like the downfall of fucking Jonny Mozza or something? I don't know. I have no idea. What if I, you know, because there's so many YouTubers out that start off so genuine and they become so fake as all the sponsors deals come in, they sell out and they start taking their audience for fucking schmucks. And like, I don't want to do that now, but like, I bet they didn't want to do that back then, but they just did because their attitude towards it changed. And what if mine changes? What if I become a sellout? What if I start like doing that kind of thing? I don't want to, so I have to figure out how to humble myself. And the idea of that feels weird and arrogant in and of itself, and it all feels quite pretentious to talk about, and I don't like pretension. And it almost feels like not liking pretension is pretentious, and like, I don't know. It's not that I feel like I'm saying the wrong things, or anything like that. It's not that I feel like I'm worried that I'm gonna get cancelled in the future or anything like that, because I've got all the right opinions, as arrogant as that sounds. I'm fairly like, you know, I try and love everybody, you know, and I try and also not be a smug little centrist, and I try and figure out the right and from the wrong and try and like support causes. And that's another thing that comes through as like more and more political things go on and I get bigger. There's gonna be that, you know, that whole thing with like people not speaking out about Palestine. You've got a platform, so you've got no excuse. And it's like, I've supported Palestine for like 15 years, and it's like, I watched documentaries about it when I was 10, you know? So it's not that I don't support that cause, but I don't know, I feel like I can't do any of that sort of stuff. I don't want to end up being part of the inevitable culture war. I don't want to end up being a part of that like everybody else. And I also don't want to act like I'm some fucking like, you know, island, just me, because no man is an island at the end of the day. I don't know how to grapple with all this. It's really weird. It's exciting, it's really exciting, but it's really weird. And I've just got to figure out what the future brings. And I am really excited for it, and I cannot emphasize enough how excited I am for this journey, because it's so cool what's going on right now, and the fact that so many people are getting so inspired by what's going on, it really touches me like at the heart, you know. But as I get more and more of them, they almost become like white noise. They haven't become white noise to me yet, but I know they will. Say once I'm getting them like every fucking 5 minutes, you know. Now I get enough that I can take in each one and like think about it and like think about them and empathize with them. But at a certain point, I'm gonna get so many that I'm not gonna be able to do that. I already can't respond to all the comments. I'm already so behind on responding to people's comments. I try to respond to what I can, and I feel bad for not responding to everyone, because I feel like, I don't know, I'm worried people will develop a parasocial relationship with me. And I don't, and you know, if I'm worried about that, then surely I should just stop, but I don't want to stop. So I need to figure out how to love that. And I do love it, so that's easy. And I just don't know, because it makes you realize that the world is way more chaotic than it appears. Like, because so many people out there that look like they're such fucking experts on things, they really aren't. They're just spouting off the way that I'm spouting off, but they do it with confidence, and so you believe them, you know? That's what this is. That's all these things are. It's a soapbox at the end of the day. Like, I can't live in denial about that. It's just one big soapbox, and it's a positivity soapbox. I try and keep it positive, and I feel like this is a positive video, as weird as a positive video it is. But I don't know. I don't know how to wrestle with this. If you have any thoughts on this, I think this is going to be the video I'm going to focus on responding to comments to, because I really want to get a dialogue going on this. Tell you what, can someone set up a Discord or something? I don't understand Discord, but if someone set up a Discord, maybe we could try and make a community together and like see what happens from there, because like I want that kind of thing. I do want like a little community to come out of this. That would be really cool. And I'm scared of the idea of being like some huge YouTuber, and I've recently had to wrestle with the idea that that is what this is going to become, because like it's exploding in a really weird way. Like, it's really fucking cool. Please don't take this for me being ungrateful. This is me coming to the realization that I need to take some responsibility onto my audience and onto like these videos. You know, I don't know. I've got some duty to not just entertain or inspire, but also to put people on the right track, it feels like. And that's quite a lot, you know? What if I give the wrong message? What if someone takes the wrong idea from my videos and does something horrible? What if someone like, you know, what if I stop for whatever reason and that causes someone to spiral, you know, because my videos are the only thing that keeps them above water? I don't know. They're all things I've had to grapple with, and I don't have the answers to them. And this is something that everyone has to think about when they are big on YouTube. Every big YouTuber has probably had to come to terms with this, but I've never heard it talked about. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what this phenomenon is. If it's got a name, if it has got a name, I'd love to know it. And yeah, I'd really like to know your thoughts on this, because I do want to keep doing this, and I won't stop. Please don't take this as me saying I'm done, because I'm not. I'm only just beginning. And that's why I'm making this video, because this is only just beginning. And I'm realizing that now. This is like, you know, imagine it's Lord of the Rings, right? So far, we've just been watching the fucking hobbits run around the Shire. This video is like the scene with the one ring. And it's like, oh God, that ring has some powers, you know? That's what this feels like. So yeah, this video has actually helped me feel a lot better while I've tried to work my way through what this actually is, because it is quite interesting, this feeling. It's not negative, it's not positive, it's just a challenge. And I like challenges. I do like challenges, but there's no but really. Yeah, I just like challenges. So yeah, more videos tomorrow and the next day, and for as long as people want them. So thank you very much for watching this. Have a great rest of the day. Yeah, take care. Bye. Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you about the idea of a personal brand. Now, in the creative fields, all of us are trying to get somewhere, and one of the most useful tools to do that at this present moment is social media. So that's your Twitters, your Instagrams, your YouTubes, your TikToks, Facebook, LinkedIn, Mandy, Star Now, Spotlight, all IMDb, all of these various things. These are profiles that you set up and you update as time goes on, as your career progresses. And I feel like as you kind of continue with your career in film, particularly, you start to give off the same kind of aura of wannabe professionalism. Not necessarily professionalism, but you're trying to convey the idea of professionalism for the sake of garnering more work. And it's essentially using your social media as an extended CV, essentially, that you continually update across your life. Now, actors that might be watching this might be able to relate to this, because every actor that I've sort of interacted with, you follow them on Instagram or whatever, and they've got this really professional headshot, and they've got to have stories on all the time, like the Instagram stories, and they do a few of them a day, sort of showing, I'm on this shoot, I'm doing this, and blah, 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 right? And then you've got all the posts where they've all got the same kind of format, where it's kind of like, so happy to be working on this thing, exclamation mark, I can't wait for this thing to come out, blah, 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 blah. I did this, and then I did this, and I did this, and then they'll also show stuff like, like a holiday that they went on, and they'll show just the most pristine parts of that. And we show off the most pristine parts of our lives in general, because we want to give off this image of professionalism, and like we are these good human beings that are real, that are slick and clean, that are ready to work at any moment, right? And if you want to break through the industry, if you want to break down the wall between you and the industry at large, this is something that you do need to do, because from my point of view as a casting director, one of the first things that I look at is people's social medias and their YouTubes and their Facebooks and so on. Well, not really Facebook, more Instagram, because Instagrams tend to be public. And, I look at all these things, and I do get impressed by the level of professionalism that is conveyed on these things. So I fall victim to the same commodification of your life. And that's what I do see this as. It's a commodification of your life, because when you actually meet people in real life, you realize that they aren't exactly like how they portray themselves in social media. They are rough around the edges. There are problems with them, and these are problems that you would never show to the rest of the world, because you possibly out of a fear of rejection. That's possibly why I have held off on revealing the true version of myself for so long. It's also the idea that maybe your real opinions are things that are wrong and that shouldn't be conveyed, because then you can't get work if you actually have certain opinions. And I don't mean like being cancelled and all that sort of thing. I just mean the general anxiety around putting your true thoughts out there in the world on the internet, as the internet was originally sort of intended to do, because that's what we all want to do. We all want to express ourselves. That's why we entered the creative field. We all want to express the true nature of our beings, right? But we do that via this fake social media presence. And I find that a little bit ironic, actually, in that we are trying to convey professionalism and this slick, clean corporate image, which but at the same time, we're trying to show off that we are this unique specimen that has this interesting voice that others might want to be a part of. And these two things can't really go together. So, my social media, for instance, my main Instagram is @official Morrison Productions, and it's another one of these professional, slick type of Instagrams where you put your latest gigs on there, you put your latest jobs and what you're working on and all that, and you do the same kind of thing where, I've been doing this, oh, I'm so glad to be a part of this, so blah, 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 so grateful and all that sort of stuff. And, I do mean it, but I wouldn't word it like that in real life. I would word things in a different way. I have my own way of saying things, just like everyone has their own way of saying things, but we don't use that way of communication on social media. We all tend to gravitate towards the same slick corporate image, which none of us are deep down, because if that was your true personality, that's not a particularly interesting personality, a type of person to actually be associated with. So I see these people that apply for my casting calls and all that for my various films. And I try and look past the social media to get an idea of what that person is through the mistakes and through the little quirks of how they write and how they frame a shot or an angle or their particular style for their various social medias and their videos and their content, right? So when you're doing this social media thing to try and get into the industry, now, we kind of have to not be ourselves. We're told to always just be ourselves and good things will come. But I don't think you can be yourself. I think you've got to be this manufactured version of yourself that is made to be accessible to the masses and to be accessible to as many professional casting directors and producers and so on as possible. We are trying to create a corporate version of ourselves that does the work, and then we come back and we take the suit off and we become our true selves. So as time goes on, we start to tire of this same corporate image, and we experiment with various stylings, and then maybe months down the line, as we start to apply to a new job, we might go through our social media and look at a post and go, ooh, God, delete that, delete that, hide that. You're astroturfing your true personality, because you're taking things that you are no longer proud of and hiding them. Like, there's so many great films that I see on people's show reels, for instance, right? And I go and try and find them, I Google them, and I can't find them anywhere. And they might have an IMDb page or a Letterboxd page, or they might have a Facebook page that they set up for it, or a YouTube channel or whatever that might have a couple trailers and maybe an interview or that kind of thing. But you can never find the actual film. The film itself tends to be locked behind a Vimeo unlisted video where you have a password that the director or the person that uploaded the video will send you. And then you find the video, you put the password in, and then you can watch the film that way. So we're making all this stuff and we're hiding it from the real world. We're hiding it from everyone. And why do we create? It's so that, we can express ourselves, and two, so that we can get people to engage with our art, with our expression. And, we're putting ourselves out there in some various form through the lens of, creative storytelling. And we do that, and it's very satisfying, and I'm very glad to be a part of it. And I think why this channel in particular has been doing quite well in the past couple of weeks is because it's me being myself rather than me astroturfing my own personality to be accessible to as wide an audience as possible. I give my real opinions on the state of things. I give my real opinions on the world, and then you find out that people are kind of on the same wavelength, and that you don't need to hide your opinions, because a lot of us tend to agree. As long as you're generally a good person, you can be yourself, and good things will come of it. In general, sometimes the world can be unfair and it can beat you down, even though you've tried your best. But all we can do is push forwards and just keep creating and pushing at new things, and pushing the boundaries and trying new things and breaking new ground. And at the end of it, hopefully we can break down this wall between us, the individual low-level people, and the industry at large. And I do feel like we have to commodify our lives now in order to break into the industry. We always had to some degree, but now with the advent of social media, you have to be so on it. You have to look like you are doing stuff all the time. You have to project this image of success, which was a lot easier to do when you didn't have social media, because all you had to do then was just, when you were talking to a producer or whatever, just say what you're doing in that moment. But now you have to be in that mode whenever you log on and whenever you make a post, and whenever you do something, and you have to go into that mindset. Even if you're, say, like, just lying in bed and making a new post, you have to enter that mindset in your off time, and you're always on. Like, when I do what I do as part of this creative field, I'm always on. It's not like a job where you clock out at the end of the day and you go home and you forget about it. You're always trying to think of stuff. I basically work from the moment I get up and have my breakfast to the moment before I brush my teeth and go to bed. And that's not to say I'm a super busy person, that's not to say I'm a workaholic, that's not to say like I'm the most productive individual out there, but because of the nature of my work, I have to be on it all the time, and we all have to be like that. And that's the only way to actually make something now, is to put out this image of yourself for the sake of the casting directors and the employers. And I feel like the employers, from my point of view as one, we don't really want this to be the case either, but it just is the way that it is, and everyone's accepted the way it is. It's like with Spotlight, for instance. Spotlight came around some point in the last decade, and it started off with a bit of an astroturfing campaign to make Spotlight seem like it's the big, legitimate thing, and you're not a legitimate actor if you're not on Spotlight. And so this message was spread around the industry, at least in the UK, and now casting directors do take Spotlight so seriously, and casting agents will only take actors if they are on Spotlight. So now, because of the advent of social media, now you need to pay, it's £180 a year to be on Spotlight, and then it's another £150 a year to be on Mandy.com. So you have to pay for all of these things, and you have to have them, because you can't do anything without them. And this is the only way that you can get work now. I'd compare it to nurses having to pay for parking at the hospital that they work at. They have to pay for parking. I think it's something like £60 a month, something like that, which comes straight out of their pocket. They have to pay for their own training. They have to pay for all these various things. So just to get work, you have to put the money in. And where are you going to get the money from? Well, you're going to have to get a job, and then you're going to use the job so that you can get more work, and you're just going to work to work, essentially. Which for what this is as a filmmaking industry, what is the point of film? Is to show a personal expression of some variety via a community that have come together to make that vision a reality. And with the way that things are now, with social media, at this present day, I'm not particularly satisfied with this level of corporate branding that we have to do in order to make ourselves seem legitimate in the eyes of our employers. So as a casting director and an employer, I would like to say, don't worry so much about your Instagram and like making sure everything is as slick and professional as possible, having all the Instagram stories and having all these followers, because it becomes a rat race that you can completely enter into. And what's more important is the person behind the screen, the person behind the profile, which is what the casting director is trying to find. They're trying to find you. So if you put your real self out there, good things will come. But obviously you do need to astroturf slightly. You can't go out there and just rant about your political beliefs, for instance, because that's a very hot topic, and say if you're a Kamala Harris supporter and you start banging on about Kamala Harris, if your casting director for the job that you want is a Trump supporter, well, you're less likely to get the job, and vice versa. So we have to keep our opinions to ourselves, and we have to hide these things away. And that's something that I hope will change, but I don't think it will. With the continuing division of our society in the political landscape, I think that it's only going to get worse, and it's only going to get harder. And as people get better and better at making these personal brands, the expectations from the employers will tighten, and it will get harder and harder and harder to break down these walls. And I don't really want that to be the case. So whenever I try and be the change that I want, so I try and hire people based on the true version of themselves, rather than the self that they put out there for a corporate image. Also, because it's a lot easier to find your true self on the internet if I Google your name than you might think, because everything that is out there on the internet, and you can find all of it. So, yeah, on that, eerie kind of ending, I can see you. I'm gonna end it there. I hope you managed to get something out of this, and I hope that going forwards, that you are more willing to put your true self out there rather than completely astroturf things. And hopefully the more that we do this, and the more that this idea of authenticity being the thing that's the most important, rather than the professionalism, as that proliferates, I would like that to change the way that casting directors and production houses and you know, producers and so on will look at you when you put through that resume, CV, showreel, yeah, and cover letter. And final note, personalize your cover letter. I can tell when it's copy-pasted, and I can also tell when it's copy-pasted and you've changed a couple words. It's very easy to tell. I can also tell when you've used ChatGPT. That's not to say I hate when people do that, but you know, at least take the ChatGPT thing that it spat out, put it into a text editor and morph things into your own words. So yeah, that's a little tip just to end on. Thank you so much for watching this. Yeah, and I hope together that we can break through the industry and we can use a sledgehammer and break down the walls of professionalism and yeah, start being ourselves in an industry which is meant to be all about personal expression. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey up everybody. My name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to do another little review of the Rode SmartLav Plus. This time I wanted to do it in a much more loud, public sort of space, so that you can kind of get a sense for how these things would work if you were to use these microphones in a public setting on the roadside or anything like that. So this is just a nice little way of showing. It's really windy today as well, and there's all the leaves that are kind of spiraling, like just going all over the place. Cars are driving right past, there's lorries and stuff that go past. There's like the sound from a generator way down there. I don't think that, you might not even be able to hear that one. I don't know if you heard that squeak from that car there, that white Honda that's just sort of driving past. So even in my own ears right now, the audio doesn't sound high quality. I've not got headphones in. I just mean the audio quality of real life isn't all that great. So I think this is quite a hard sort of location to film. If you wanted to do a film like right here, you would be a little bit mad, to be honest, because all the cars going past, that would make continuity really difficult for a start. So you'd probably, you'd have different cars coming each time unless you did a big multi-camera setup or something like that. But, so for reference, the microphone is here. It's just sort of chucked on, didn't really put much effort into it. Been moving it hither to thither because I've sort of taken coats off and put them back on and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's quite, because it's a really loud location, so there's a lot coming through. The sweeping of the leaves across the street is quite loud, just that's coming from the wind that's moving them around. That was not me just moving on purpose, that was the wind blowing me slightly, so that should give you a bit of an idea. It's a little bit windy. I'd probably say, like, obviously the second I do that, hello birdies. The second I do this, I can't tell because it stops being windy. It feels sort of like it's coming directly this way, so it's coming directly into the microphone. So let me just unplug it, and so you can kind of get a sense of what it feels like if it's being held. The wire is being rubbed against stuff. I'm just gonna sort of rub it against sort of bits of clothes inside, that kind of thing. I'm trying to find the cable on the inside of the shirt. Okay, I found it. So I'm kind of rubbing the cable slightly, just sort of just massaging the cable, and this is how it sounds. So you can get a little bit of, you know, rustle. The rustle I feel sounds fairly naturalistic. Even when planes go overhead, it's not really a big issue. It all kind of works itself out with this microphone. That's why I really love this microphone. 50 quid on Amazon Prime. So I would really recommend getting these microphones, particularly if you want to make videos that are kind of like this, where it's just sort of going out into the world and stuff and just filming yourself, just chatting shit really. So yeah, it's just a very quick little video just to talk about the Rode SmartLav Plus. It hooks into your phone, so it's just being recorded into my phone. I've got a really cheap, shitty phone, so it just goes straight into that. I made the point of cheap, shitty phone because you don't need like some high-end super phone to make this work. It's not necessarily about the internals of this. I do think that the phone compresses the audio slightly, which I actually find quite useful. I'm sure if a sound designer was watching this, they'd hear that and go, ah! Oh yeah, that was a good little test for the volume. Ah! Ooh, ooh. And now I'm going to talk a little bit quieter whilst there's cars going by, so that you can get a bit of a sense for what the audio itself sounds like. Oh, they've got a Peugeot 408 now. When did that come out? Good for them. Oh, you know those cars that have those really stupid, there's one coming now. It's this Volkswagen, look. Look at the doors on that, it's really dumb. I don't understand that. Apparently, what you have to do, you have to go to, like, say this is the door, you have to push this bit in, and then you have to pull this bit out. So you need to do 2 movements. That's just ridiculous. So yeah, there's a little bit of talking, a bit of variation in the volume, so you can get a sense of, you know, what it's kind of like using this microphone, and it's a nice little microphone, this. I really like it, and I want to buy some more of them. I'm going to put an Amazon affiliate link in the description. I got Amazon affiliates, so I'm going to start putting Amazon affiliates in various things. This does not count as selling out. That's going to come later, way down the line. I don't think I hope I'm not capable of selling out. That's maybe a topic for another day. Maybe I need to get a bit larger and like maybe get some sponsorship deals or something first for that. Because I don't know what to do with that. Maybe I'd take them. Depends what it is, I suppose, what the money's like. So, yeah, as you can see, there is an awful lot of just stuff that's going past, you know, and other people walking through the shot. So this is a very public, very exposed location. Really not, you know, I have no control over anything around here. I don't control the traffic, I don't control the traffic lights, I don't control the people walking past, I don't control the wind. So these things are versatile and they're very capable. So I really recommend them. £50 you can get them for, they're really good. Hey up, you all right? Just filming this video here, it's a brilliant place to do it. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Hope you have a good rest of the day, and take care, have a good one. Oh, I'm actually going to leave the shot going because there's a Vespa coming by, so I want you to see the Vespa. Look at that. Brilliant, isn't it? I mean, probably not a great angle for seeing it. You want to see it from the side, really, but I'll tell you what you can get. So, take care, everybody. Bye-bye. This is what the hang on. This is what the audio would have sounded like coming out the camera. It sounds like this. It's not great. I probably have to come really close, like sort of like this. Hang on. I have to come up as sort of close as I can. So I have to talk of this. I still don't think it sounds great. It sounds a bit tinny. This is just the internal ones on the Canon C100. So I was probably out of focus for that. Hey up everybody, my name is Jonny Mozza and director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about scripting or improvisation. These are 2 tools that you can use for your film, and they will provide very, very different looks. So how do both of them work? What are the benefits, the pros and the cons of both? And how can you implement a good mix into your film to make sure that you get the best quality product that you can possibly make? So improvisation is very simple. It's basically what I'm doing, and it's a lot of what Jonny Mozza, his Lessons in Confidence is all about. It's all about getting a naturalistic kind of dialogue going through the course of the film. So some of the scenes for the film, I have purposefully not written a script. I have just done beats. So I will start off, say you've got a scene of a rehearsal. Right, I know what the beats are, so it'll start off with a bit of a jam, and then someone needs to say, this isn't working, and then I need to go and show them the idea that I want to actually get across, get the reactions from them, and then they say that you can't sing, and I then get annoyed and I walk off, and that's the beats that need to happen in the scene. But how the actors want to actually do that is completely up to them. How they want to word things is completely in their hands. So, a lot of actors quite like improvisation. A lot of them also prefer scripted stuff, so it depends on the actor that you're working with. Some prefer, you know, one way of doing things, some prefer another way of doing things, and you know, it's good to have a bit of both. So scripting is, well, it's pretty obvious. It's where you write down what the character says, and then the character says that thing, and that's kind of what we do in more sort of plot-heavy sort of scenes. So if you've got a scene where there's some exposition that needs to be told in a specific way to make it interesting, then that is where scripting can come in useful, and that's where you can really hone in your craft, and this is for much more focused and detailed filmmaking. That's what it's quite useful for. So you can get a nice combination of both. And yeah, I like improvisation because you can just sort of have fun with it, and you can kind of come up with some creative ideas on the fly, and you end up making things that are pretty interesting. And I also like scripting because, for very different reasons, you can create a scene that has a specific purpose, and it's very focused on achieving that purpose. Now, certain films are going to require more scripting, certain films will work better with improvisation, and it's up to you to decide which tool you want to use, because both are extremely different in how they're actually used. For instance, you've got, and both can be used well and they can be used badly. So take two films that both use improvisation. The 2016 Ghostbusters, and then take something like, I don't know, any of Joel Haver's works, for instance. Both improvised, but both use improvisation in different ways and to different successes. I feel like Ghostbusters kind of fails because it's such a slick, big set with all the crew and everything there, so it's already quite sterilized because of that, and they're trying to introduce this human element via the improvisation. And then with Joel Haver's work, the reason that that kind of works with the improvisation and so on is that you're able to get this free-flowing dialogue in a very naturalistic setting, because there's only maybe one guy behind the camera in a place that feels very naturalistic, in a place where there's not like lights all over the shop and everything's all like that. It's all very simple and down to earth, and that's where improv is really, really useful. You will find that in comedy particularly, in the past sort of 20 years, improvisation has really taken off and been used to great effect. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, for instance, uses a fair bit of improvisation. Alan Partridge, 20 years ago, that wasn't technically improvised, but it was rehearsed, so they didn't necessarily script everything out, but they knew exactly what they were going to do beforehand, so it wasn't like they were making things up as they go along. So there are two types of improvisation. There's a type of improvisation where you've got no idea what it is you're actually going to do, and you go in there and you make it happen. And then there's a type of improvisation where you've already got most of it figured out. It's just the specifics of how you say stuff is going to vary from take to take. Now, improvisation works very well with a multi-camera setup, because that way you can capture everything very cleanly, and you can do continuity isn't an issue, because if you are doing a single cam setup with improvisation, you are quite likely to run into continuity errors. For instance, if in the first scene, you're kind of drinking a fair bit and you're talking and you're having a monologue, and then maybe you do one really good monologue about and all the jokes really hit and all the moments really hit and land, and you felt like it was right in that sort of one. And then you do another one, and maybe you're not drinking in that one so much. Maybe you're fiddling around with, your tie, if he's wearing a tie or something like that. So that's where multicam can be very useful. So you just set up one camera here, then you set up, say, one camera here, and that can capture everything that you need for the sake of the film. So you can get an awful lot of good stuff out of that. And yeah, it's a lot of fun to do improvisation, but scripting is also quite useful as well. You all right? Yeah, just doing a video about the idea of improvisation.
About what?
Improvisation versus scripting stuff out.
Scripting.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yes, it's going quite well.
Thank you
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You have a good day, yeah?
Yeah.
Aye. Yeah, hopefully these clouds stay out, because it's such a good look.
When it will be on the air?
Sorry?
When it will be on the air? When?
Probably today. If you search Jonny Mozza,
What's that?
Jonny Mozza,
Which television?
it's going to be on YouTube.
YouTube. Oh,
Yeah. And then the film itself, hopefully, will go on Amazon Prime or something like that. So I'm doing these as little promos for the film and so on. So when the film actually comes out, that's going to be on Amazon Prime. And
Okay. So where do you get that? YouTube?
Yeah, you search Jonny Mozza.
Jonny.
Mozza, so Jonny and then Mozza, and it should come up. It's just doing loads of these little piece to cameras. I do inspirational stuff.
Yeah.
Aye.
Superb.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Take care, yeah? So that's a perfect example of improvisation, just going with the flow and just seeing what can kind of come out. That's a nice little naturalistic conversation. You've got so many opportunities for that in the real world, because the real world is chaotic, and you know, you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, and things will go wrong, and you can work around them and turn a flaw into a centerpiece for that film. So that is where improvisation is really, really useful. Scripting, on the other hand, is incredibly useful for getting those, as I said, extremely focused and quite tight scenes down. It's very good for if you've got like an exposition-heavy scene. If you try and improvise an exposition scene, you're probably going to find that you end up with this very boring scene with actors that feel like they're not giving their A game. Improvisation is really good for when you have a specific thing that you want the character to do, and you allow the actor to have fun being in that role. I find improvisation works best for comedy. You can do it for drama. I know, what's his name? I can't remember his name, that does 922 films. He does improvisation for drama-y kind of stuff like Chlorine and Sheep Theatre. These are more serious films, but they do make use of improv in a very satisfying and interesting way. So it's not genre dependent, but I do find that comedy is really, really good for improvisation, and drama tends to work better with scripts. And yeah, with scripting, you write everything down, you get everything figured out, you do the storyboard if you want to do a storyboard, and it's very good if you want to get like all the crew, you want your sound guys and your gaffers and all that sort of stuff to come together and make a really condensed, cohesive product. So you can get some really interesting stuff there. Like for instance, if you want to get like quite intricate blocking, you're going to want to have some kind of idea of what you're doing beforehand for that. So you can kind of script that out like, I don't know, Michael gets up and then he walks across the room and then he sits down on another chair and he's like, okay, this chair is actually quite nice. And then he gets up and maybe he walks around and he does a bit of this and he goes around in a circle. And then he does that and he says, actually, I think that we should go over there. And then, you know, cut to them over there. That was a really terrible example of what a script would be. This is why I'm not mainly a script writer. I'm not the best writer, but I think what my skill is making these setups for moments to happen. So I'm good at getting the people into that situation and then allowing them to flower and blossom and really have some fun with the role. And I think that's the beauty of improvisation. You might notice in this, if we've got script and we've got improv, I'm leaning more towards the improv. I've done a lot of scripted stuff in the past, and I do find a lot of value in it. And I do think that, you know, scripting stuff is probably the best way to go for quite a large-scale film and you know, that kind of thing. If you've got loads of people waiting on you, you don't want to just sit around and, you know, goggle around and I don't even remember what the word is, and just make stuff up as you go along, because you've got all of these people with expectations and so on, and it doesn't quite work. And you know, the actors then need some extra time to actually figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to do it, and you know, that kind of thing. And it can also put more pressure on some actors. Some actors don't like improvisation, and some do. And it's just up to the actor. Some people have different methods. And that's, you know, the way that it is. Some people have different mentalities towards filmmaking, and I think that's the beauty of film and art in general, is that it's also subjective. There's no objective, correct way to make a film or to make a piece of art. There's only your way of doing it, and the way that you want to do it is the way that your film really flowers into its own beautiful and unique and personalized product that you can send off to, you know, wherever it's going to be released, whether that be YouTube or whether it be Amazon Prime or film festival circuit or whatever it is that you want to do. Yeah, so you've got these two tools, and it's very good to be aware of both of them and to sort of make use of both of them for different situations, because just like with any tool, you've got a particular use case for it. And when that sort of potential to do a scene with improv or to do a scene with script comes around, it's up to you to choose which path you want to take for that. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I want to cover. It's yeah, you can do things either way. You know, it's an artistic, creative medium, so you can really have fun with it and do what you want. You can combine script and improv as well, which I'm kind of doing with this Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. I'm writing a script, but I'm kind of allowing the script to change as I'm doing it. I haven't like written out a complete script and that's how things are going to be, and that's the way that the plot structure works. I'm writing the script and then tweaking bits and then changing scenes as I kind of go along, and allowing the film to develop over the course of me actually making it, which for this type of project has been the way forward. But for your project, it might be different. Maybe you want to script everything out in advance so that you have this vision already locked in, and now it's just a case of actually doing it. Or maybe you don't want to script anything. Maybe you want to go completely improvised. Maybe you want to do some kind of very naturalistic film between just a couple people having a chat and hanging out, or maybe some friends hanging out. And that is a very good place to use improv, and you can use improv for the entire film. Like with stuff like It Just Takes a Little Time from Joel Haver, or you know, the 922 films that I just described, or any of these kind of projects. You've got pure improvisation, and that's just pure, it's not even necessarily making up as you go along, because you do have an idea of what it is you actually want to do, but it's up to everyone around you to focus in on where it's going and how to get there. And that's, yeah, it's a beautiful journey. So I hope that you'll come along with me for this making of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. I hope that you'll see it when it comes out, because I'm really excited to show it to you. And yeah, that's going to be all from me. Thank you so much for watching this. Have a great rest of the day. And yeah, go write a script, or maybe do some plot beats. That's important, by the way. Just do structure your scene in some regard. Even if you are doing improv, you can just like come up with a basic idea of how the scene is going to play out, and then it's just up to everyone to fill in the blanks along the way. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Take care. Have a great rest of the day. Yeah, I like this shot. It's a cool shot, this. I'm going to move out of the way so you can... the thanks for watching thing should be coming up there. We're going to do some... Yeah, you've got 2 videos as well. Click on one of them if you want. Don't have to if you don't want to. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about creating things and how not necessarily will everything that you create be of high quality. Sometimes you will make something that completely and utterly blows, and that's okay. In fact, it's good. It's good that sometimes you make something that doesn't work out, because it shows you where you went wrong and how you might be able to go right in the future. Now, let's roll things back a little bit and think about your favorite artist, your favorite content creator, or your favorite musician, or whatever it might be, okay? Now, I'm sure when they were first starting out that their music or their films or their material felt a little bit different. It felt like they were still evolving, and they were still finding their footing, they were still finding their voice. And at some point along the vague timeline of their career, they found their voice, or they found what they do well, and they stuck with it, and they started doing more of that. And you start to notice them come into their own as time goes on. That's one aspect of this, is that you need to make stuff that sucks because you need to know what your voice is. You need to make something that isn't your voice so that you can feel like, okay, that's not who I am, let's try something else. Sometimes that's the case. I mean, I've started so many YouTube channels where I've tried various things and I felt like it wasn't my voice, and I've given them up, and then I've tried something else, and then this is just another experiment in the bag of experiments where I try and find my voice. And I think with this one, I seem to have found my voice, and I'm going to keep doing them. But not necessarily will every one of these videos be of super high quality. Not all of them are my best. Some of them are kind of crap. Some of them aren't all that. Some of them I'm rambling. Some of them I'm completely incoherent. But I think that's okay, because what's more important is the fact that you are able to remain in the flow state, and you are able to keep making things no matter what. And I think the fact that you try and make as much as possible, because I'm a big advocate for the idea of quantity over quality. instead of quality over quantity, which is the traditional way of seeing things. I think that you should make as much stuff as possible and maybe accept that some of it won't necessarily be good. Sometimes it's not going to be as good as others, okay? Think about it like this. If you play guitar or you play an instrument or whatever, you might be able to relate to this. Do you ever have those days where you can just shred and you're just amazing, right? And then you have other days where you go and you just find yourself unable to do the things you were doing the other day. Even though you clearly are capable of doing them, now you just can't for some reason. Well, it's the same kind of thing with regards to, if you take that upper level, your favorite musicians, your favorite bands or whatever, they all feel the same way. They all have days where they feel more on top of their instrument than others. And sometimes, like for instance, if you see a band that maybe live stream every single one of their live shows, you can see the ebbs and flows and the peaks and valleys of their ability. Well, you see the days where they're not as good. You see the days where they're super brilliant. And obviously, like they're practicing like trained, professional musicians, so they know what they're doing and they're not going to put on a bad show. But sometimes there's that magic that just enhances everything and makes them so much more capable than they normally are. And that's, I guess, inspiration. And you don't necessarily need it for everything, because I think the more important thing than, trying to hit all those peaks, all of those spikes, is to increase your baseline for what is good. If you make something that is, say, a 3 out of 10, and you keep making stuff that's 3 out of 10, you make 3 out of 10 films, right, every single time, they keep getting rated 3 out of 10. You will continue to do this and you'll get better at doing it, and eventually you'll start making 4 out of 10 films, and then slowly you'll start making 5 out of 10 films. You'll probably never get to 10 out of 10, but maybe you'll be able to settle on 6. So you'll have gone from below average to above average, which I think would be better than to putting all your eggs into a couple different baskets where you try and make a few 8 out of 10s when you're at a 3 out of 10 ability, if that kind of makes sense. Sometimes you're going to make things that aren't good. Sometimes you're going to make things that are crap or uninteresting or incoherent or nonsense, pretentious. And that's part of who you are. That's part of the human expression. That's part of what we're all trying to do as creators, I suppose, is we're trying to find our own voices. And the only way you're going to find your voice is to speak. So you might as well just keep talking and see where it takes you, because generally, if you try things, you're going to go down a good route in life, and you're going to open up opportunities. If you take everything that comes your way, then you'll find yourself being gifted these better opportunities and these better opportunities as time goes on, rather than if you closed yourself off and tried to perfect a couple little things and then rely just on those things. Because it's all well and good to create your magnum opus, and sometimes you do need to take some time away to really craft something and put your time and effort into it. But sometimes it's more important to just keep making stuff and to just see where it takes you and see where the feeling of today drives you. Say you're a musician, why not just make a song every day? It's not that hard to make a song. How long is a song? 3 minutes? How many tracks is on this song? 5? Well, add how long does it take to go from one track to the other and do a little tapping the record button? Maybe a minute, so 4 minutes each times 5, what's that? 20 minutes? Okay, then a bit of mixing, you could probably get the song done in an hour, okay? Do that every single day. The 30th song is probably going to be a hell of a lot better than the first one. And if you do that again the next month, the 60th song will be better than the 30th, and so on and so forth. And eventually you'll stagnate, and eventually there'll be little point in continuing to do things in that way, and you'll need to try another approach. And that's where you can really focus your efforts onto making a single, super cohesive, super intricate, and super polished piece of work. And that's okay. It's okay to work in different ways, because we all have our own workflows and our own ways of looking at the world and so on and so forth. But I think it should be universal is self-acceptance and understanding of yourself, and that you're not always going to make the best thing, you're not always going to make your magnum opus, and just because you made something brilliant yesterday doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make something brilliant today. And that's okay, because you might make something brilliant in a couple of days or a week, and that's fine, because the way I see it is we're all trying, and sometimes those attempts will pay off, sometimes they won't. Sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't. And it's up to you to just keep trying to make things work. And eventually they will, probably. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. I think it's been a fairly short one, but quite an important one, I think. I think this is a really important message to actually get across, that you're not always going to make great quality content. You're not always going to make great quality things. You're not always going to be at the best of your ability. Sometimes you'll flounder and you'll fuck things up, and that's fine. It's okay to be like that. Love yourself, and I love you all. You're all brilliant. And yeah, leave your comments in the thing below about this topic in general. And yeah, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope you have a good rest of the day, and take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Oh. You see how wet my arse is? It stinks of sulfur here. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today I'm here with Eva, who is the costume designer on Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. We've just gone to a shop. We've gone to a shop in Tottenham Court Road, which you actually got me onto. Yes. Do you want to tell them about the shop a wee bit, because it's amazing.
It was the Goldsmith Vintage Store, and it's just before Foyles in Tottenham Court Road. 14.93, I think, every single piece, and you have like a huge selection of everything. Every week there's new products coming in. Big possibilities for anyone who wants to do costumes and wants like a very quick, easy access to like base clothes and everything. Like anything weird, you will find it there.
Like for instance, got this, right?
Yes.
Which is this kind of turquoise, really light bit of trouser. If you see it, it's so thin. It's absolutely, it's just amazing. This is going to be worn by a character played by Lee Westwick, who probably going to be called Colin Doherty. So you got that kind of thing.
There's so much potential in this to make the belt loops, make stencils, styling it. Like it's perfect for the character.
Because you were talking about as well, like having ties to be like the belt.
Yes. I have like a really nice big golden belt loops going like around. Just like to give it more of a pizzazz going on.
Because Colin's sort of whole thing is he's very into his Motown, his 60s and 70s R&B. He's the kind of guy that would like Earth, Wind and Fire, you know, that kind of thing. So he'd wear that kind of thing.
Just like a really nice flashy one.
You got this as well. They just look like jeans, but watch this.
A surprise. Like a really nice thick cotle in the front. Very bright bell bottoms, perfect for what we need. Better for platform shoes, like full-on styling this. Bright shirt, a bright button shirt on top. It just screams Motown, it just screams like...
Especially with the bell bottoms, they really scream 70s. And then we got this as well to go with Eddie's, particularly with this kind of thing. So you see that? We've done a bit of a test on it to make sure that the blue and the iridescence really comes through, and I think the iridescence really comes through. It's such a fun sort of thing. It feels like someone that is walking around who really is quite sure of themselves and their own personality.
You have like the really dark color at the top, the really bright color at the bottom, and then a mid-tone blue, like going on between, like a loud pattern, but muted enough to actually like tie everything together.
That is so... Oh, I can't wait for Lee to try these on.
Like the scene of the performance of Jonny and how the light's gonna hit it.
So this is the stuff. Did we get anything else for? No, that was everything we got for Eddie. I'm taking that one as well.
Yes, we had a very big success on the bottoms, not so much on the tops, but we are not stopping. We are not stopping.
For shirts and stuff, he would be wearing a lot of very bright colours. This kind of shirt, but obviously not this like English teacher kind of shirt. He'd be wearing not Hawaiian, but you know, very like vibrant neon
patterns, 70s patterns going on.
Exactly, and possibly with like quite big collars. He'd, you know, I can't touch too much because of the lav mic, but you know, that kind of thing with it going out quite far. I imagine he's quite a spiky person.
Yes, like baggy, a little bit of slouchy, big sleeves. Just, here's this going on, having a really nice silhouette about him.
Oh yeah, he would have such a great silhouette, especially with the bell bottoms coming out like
yes, the bell bottoms, you know? And the like honestly, if I can find wooden shoes, like a wooden platform, like very high clogs, yes, I think it will look really good on him.
I'm sorry about this and the noise. We're in central London. You can't find anywhere quiet around here. Anyway,
It's okay, we make it work.
I can put these back in the bag.
Yep.
So next up, we're going to discuss Jonny Mozza's character, who is great because because I'm playing him, I can just go up and just...
Yeah, we started with a different vision, and then the clothes just found us.
Yeah, that's what you get by doing stuff. If you go out and plan everything, you would never have gotten something like this kind of snakeskin leopard kind of thing.
Yeah, a little bit of iridescent on top on the snake scales, and then there's another pattern underneath. There's so much room for alteration, make it a little bit darker, painting some leopard print top, making like a faded stencil, just like to give it more character. Because these are his performance pants.
Yeah, these are the trousers that he's going to be wearing for the big gig at the end of the film. So he's really putting his effort in. He thinks that this is the biggest day of his life, as far as he's concerned. So he's got this, which they're so fun. They're so rock star. When I was wearing them, I was all like, well, it felt so fun to do that. So I love your ideas in terms of adding to it and like making these more vibrant as well.
Yes, like a really nice bed, like a shirt. We're still thinking about the top that's gonna go with this one. Maybe we are not quite really like nailed it down, but a little bit of research, maybe like some layer of mesh and then another thing on top.
But for this particular outfit, definitely something quite loud.
Yes.
So and a bit over the top loud, because Jonny is someone that is very image conscious, but he's also, he doesn't have the greatest sense of identity, despite being so image conscious. So something that would maybe even a little bit mismatching, because this band is going to be a band of misfits. I mean, you've seen Eddie's costumes, and they're so different from this. And we got this as well, which are these
really nice leather trousers.
Yeah.
A little bit short, but that doesn't face us.
Yeah.
Nothing a little bit of...
I'll show you. At the moment, they're kind of fisherman's punk. But what Eva was talking about doing was extending these down, and I was kind of like, "Well, you can just do that." I was like, yeah.
Just an extra piece of leather, stitched around, boom, you have long trousers now.
It wouldn't even need to be the same kind of leather. If it was a different kind of leather, I think it would add to like the fact he extended them.
Yeah, it's gonna look like even more DIY. Like he literally couldn't find something in his size that he liked, and he's just DIYing things.
Yeah, like he would do a lot of his clothing himself. You know how the Sex Pistols had Vivienne Westwood, who designed a lot of their outfits? Jonny Mozza would be his own Vivienne Westwood in a way. Well, you're the Vivienne Westwood of this.
And basically we're talking about like make it even louder, because he's trying hard. He's trying hard to get in the world and like show who he is. Maybe like a really nice illustration based on a traditional American tattoos of like a tiger or a panther going up his side, just so like it's loud, like I'm here, look at me, look at my trousers, I'm someone, I belong on a stage, I'm an artist.
And it's also fun because he's someone that wouldn't actually have a clue about Native American culture or anything like that, so he's kind of appropriating it for himself, which draws into his own sense of ego.
Yeah.
Which, for the tops for Jonny Mozza for a lot of the film, my dad has some amazing fucking t-shirts. He's got like Queen t-shirts and Status Quo t-shirts and stuff like that. And they are from the 70s, so they're all very worn, they're very old, and they're a lot of fun.
Like you can see the worn in them, you can see the worn in the stencil.
And then Eva has got this amazing jacket.
Yeah, thank God with leather jackets, both of us, we have plenty for the whole character.
It's a bit of a pilot sort of jacket.
Original Lufthansa. Honestly, it's my father's. I don't even know like what decade he got it from, but it's been even quite in the family.
Got a bit of this. I feel like I'm like a model right now.
Yeah, like very nice, well worn, and he still has some Velcro over here, so maybe we can put like some patches going on.
Yeah, definitely some fun patches that would maybe of different bands. That kind of thing.
Yeah, bands that he wants people to think that he listens like all the time, even though maybe he's not.
Well, I like the idea that he tries to give off the image that he's into all kind of punk and the Ramones and Sex Pistols and stuff, but in his own spare time, his real love for music comes into bands like Genesis or Yes or King Crimson, these very prog rock bands that someone that was into the punk scene would not accept. They were, if Jonny Mozza was in the 70s and he walked up to a punk gig and
Like
he
a
started
proper
talking about
punk
Genesis, he'd get laughed out of the fucking venue.
Like, what are you doing here? Like, get out. This is not the scene for you.
Yeah, if you want to have your 20-minute wanky guitar solos, go somewhere else. Go to, Soho or Fitzrovia, where they recorded a lot of the. I think they recorded a lot of the Yes albums in Fitzrovia, which gives you an idea into what kind of band they were. So it's.
But yeah, and there are plenty more leather jackets in both of our wardrobes, so we're gonna see like what fits to its character better.
And this is why it's so great to have you on board. It's so great to have someone that has like this understanding of
like subcultures
and
yeah.
Because I'm not, as you can tell, I'm not a particularly very particularly well-dressed person. I just kind of wear what I wear. I go and buy like plain white, brown, red, all that kind of t-shirts. So it's so great to have you on board, just doing this kind of enloudening of these characters.
Yes, like even that's why I love to work like in person with directors and producers, because they know their characters better, especially like since you read the characters and you are being Jonny Mozza, like you know the vibe. And the vibe is honestly like the most important thing. Like the clothes, you can find a really nice base, full on alterations, full like sewing on top, drawing on top, doing a little bit of embroidery, and you bring something completely new out of it. But you just need to have the right vibes, the right person, and it's gonna come out naturally.
Alright, and is there anything that like you'd like to promote, your own work and so on, or like your own social medias or whatever, just so that people can check you out, or like hire you and all that kind of stuff?
Yes, please. So shameless, like self-promo here. I mainly use my Instagram a lot for anything costume related. It's under the handle Black House Guild. So this is where I post like strictly costume stuff. So if anyone wants to go and see some of the other projects I've done, they're there. I need to update a lot more because there's a lot more going on that I haven't uploaded yet. But yeah, I need to go and do that as soon as possible.
And all the links will be in the description. So if you go down there, just click on all of them, check either out, and
And if anyone wants alterations and anything for their movies, I'm always free.
So I think that's going to be it. Thank you all so much for watching this and joining us on this journey, making this film, Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. I can't wait for you all to see it. It's shaping up to be such a fun project, and we've got so many amazing people on board. And I'd like to do more of this kind of thing, bring in on various people to show off the personalities that are on board, because it's so fun doing this with so many people and collaborating. That's what film is so good for.
Such a nice project, different project, like going out there, like people who know about their subcultures and music, and just yes.
Because I know sort of the music side, but I don't really know the fashion side. I've only recently started even looking at that stuff. I didn't even realize that Led Zeppelin were wearing like quite plain clothes. I thought that they just wore whatever. I didn't think about this stuff until so recently, and it's so fun to actually explore this new world of fashion in this sort of sense. It's such a weird, fun kind of fashion, like free fashion, I'm gonna call it. It's probably got a name.
Yeah, because like that's the amazing thing with music subcultures. The fashion follows the music. It's not the other way around. Like it's not like you don't wear something and not listen to the music. Like you have to live the lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's what basically like Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence is, like learning to actually be himself, living in his own style of music, just trying to be out there and finding that in the end of the day, no matter how hard you try, if it's not you, it's not, like people say it, no matter how many lights, how many stage lights you have on you.
I think with that message, we're going to close this video out. Love you all, and we'll see you on the other side.
Bye bye.
Take care. Hey up everybody, my name's Jonny Mozza, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to do a quick little review of the Rode SmartLav Plus, which is connected right here at the moment. I've got the wire out here. I thought I would just have the wire out so you can kind of see. So it's about that long, right? It's so here it is quite close to the mouth, here it is kind of far away. So I sound a little bit lighter, a bit heavier, a bit heavier, a bit heavier, a bit more, you know, full, and now it's probably about full, right? So you're noticing there's a little bit of like little movement noises, but not too much really, all things considering I'm touching it at the moment. And as I put it on, I felt like that was all fairly natural. So you can kind of take it off and you say you were interviewing someone. Oh, what do you think about the current events? Some bad stuff going on, yeah, at the moment, yep. Okay, well thank you very much. So as you can see, they're kind of quite nice. They've got quite a full sound, and you know, there's a bit of wind going on, we're outside, you know, but at the same time it still sounds quite naturalistic. It sounds quite pleasant to the ears. If you're going to use guitar terminology, because I don't really know technicalities, I would say it's got a clean, warm tone to it. It's got this nice, warm, kind of soothing kind of thing to it. So I'm going to take off the effects that I've got at the moment. So at the moment I had like a small single band compressor on it that just has a bit of vocal boost on it. And then I've got an EQ that just kind of takes the bottom and the top end off ever so slightly. So there's a tiny bit more hiss, there's a tiny bit more low end. You can kind of round those things out if you want. You don't necessarily have to. It depends on what kind of sound you want, and it also depends on your voice. If you've got a higher voice, you might want to increase a bit more of that high end. If you've got a very low voice, you might want to cut a tiny bit of low end just so that you're not booming throughout the entire thing. So let's put all those effects back. So here you can kind of see the difference. It's a little bit smoother sounding, a little bit more professional sounding. I think it's quite nice. I think this is a really good microphone, and I would really strongly recommend this microphone. So what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm just going to get up some of the technical specifications. Not that I really think they matter, but you know, it's good to know this sort of stuff. So it's got a 3.5mm TRRS jack. So you can use this in the smartphone without a plug or anything like that, so you don't need any kind of adapter. But if you want to use this in like a Rode, like in a Zoom H1 or a Tascam DR05 or a Zoom H4n, or like any kind of one of those handy recorders, you would need to get a TRRS to TRS converter. They're like £10–15 for two of them. Because they can be quite useful. Like when I was working with actors and so on, I used these kind of things for about 2 years working with actors, and I had a Zoom H1 and I had a Tascam DR05, and actors tended to prefer the Zoom H1 because it was a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact, and it felt a little bit more natural to actually do their acting and so on and so forth. So it can be quite good to maybe invest in one of those as well if you want, but you don't necessarily need to. You can just use the phone. If you're on Android, you can get an app called Easy Voice Recorder. It looks like this, so it's got these little waveforms. So I'm going to do, ha! That's a little bit louder, right? And then if I whisper a little bit like that, you see it's quite low. I'm going to stop doing that because you can't really hear it. So it's quite a good little app. It does WAV, it does M4A, it does all your basic sort of things. And yeah, it's quite good. It's also got, so it's omnidirectional. So look, if I put it out here, and then I put it over here, put it over here, put it over here, and then I put it up here. So it's omnidirectional, as opposed to, say, like a boom mic, for instance, which would be very directional. So that's a train going past, so you can hear my voice matched against the train. I think it does quite a good job of keeping my voice in. You can obviously hear the train is there, but I don't think it's necessarily taking you out of the scene. I've been able to do videos with this thing where there's been planes and stuff going on in the background, and like, you know, there's wind going on over there, there's lots of trees and stuff like that, there's cars that are driving up and down the road that's behind the camera, there's loads of things like that. And it manages to do a pretty decent job of keeping everything going. It's got a 4-foot cable, so it's about that long, right? So it's quite good. I'm quite tall, so it's good to have this in the pocket, and then it comes up, and it's just the right length, I think. I mean, ideally I would have it maybe half a foot shorter, but I don't really mind. I was looking at getting some cheaper ones, but the cheaper sort of lav mics that are like sort of 10, 15, 20 pounds, the issue with them is that they've all got like 6 meter long cables, and I just think, who needs a 6 meter long cable for a lav mic? Really, and honestly and truly. So that's why I got this. I'm going to pop it back on me. It's just a really good little microphone. I really strongly recommend it. And if you want to make these kind of videos where you just kind of talk, you can get this, at the moment it's £45. It's on a bit of a deal, Black Friday and all that. It's normally £55. In America, it's probably like something like that in dollars. Probably not much different. It's a good little microphone, really strongly recommend it. Don't think too strongly about your technical sort of specifications and stuff. If you're Googling little YouTube reviews to try and like figure out what the best bit of tech is, then you might as well get the thing that feels the most right rather than the thing that necessarily has the best technical specifications. Like, you can easily put yourself down a rabbit hole like I did, where you spend months just Googling this lav mic versus this lav mic, and this one might be a bit better, this one might be a bit better, but then you need to figure out the wireless sort of system, and then you've got to figure all this out and this out and this out, and it's like, look, I would really recommend just getting this one, because this one I don't have to think. I don't have to think at all. And there's only been a couple times, and it's always been the audio recorder's fault and not the lav mic's fault, that sometimes it's cut out and stuff like that. So it's a very strong, very durable, quiet microphone. I sometimes forget to even take it off, and I just leave it on like this, and I just walk around town. I've had it on all day, just like this. And there you can hear my voice against a train again. This one's a bit of a louder train, it's a faster one, so you can sort of see, although my voice was raising in volume to accommodate it, it still managed to do quite a good job at actually matching against that. So I would really, really recommend this microphone, and that's basically all I wanted to do this video to say. Rode SmartLav Plus, I'm going to tell you exactly what it's called. It's called a Rode SmartLav Plus Rode SmartLav Plus smartphone lavalier microphone with TRRS connector for broadcast, filmmaking, content creation, location and studio voice recording. Yeah, I've actually done it for vocals and stuff before in songs, and that it's quite good for that. It has a very naturalistic sort of feel to it, so maybe if you wanted like some really crazy sort of, I don't know, things, you might want to go for maybe a Shure 57 or maybe a Shure 58 or something like that, if you actually wanted like proper studio sort of things, if you were going for that. But this is a brilliant all-round microphone for using in any situation. It really does a great job. It's an all-rounder. And since I've got them, I managed to start this channel because I bought these microphones. I got 3 of them, I broke one of them, and I need to get another couple. So yeah, I really strongly recommend them. I'm going to leave an affiliate link for Amazon so you can go and buy them. Definitely go buy them. They're not very expensive. They hook up into your phone. If you want to hook them up into a smart recorder, you just need to get a TRRS to TRS converter. And if you want to connect it to your iPhone and you've got like one of those new iPhones that don't have the headphone jack, then all you do is just get one of those little lightning bolt to headphone jack cable things, and then it should be able to work. I don't have an iPhone, I've never tested it with an iPhone, but I imagine they work with iPhone, so it shouldn't be a problem. But maybe check another couple videos to see Rode SmartLav Plus with iPhone. Just make sure first. You know, don't just take this video as gospel. And yeah, that's going to be the whole video. So thank you very much for watching this. Hope you have a great rest of the day. If you do make any videos with these microphones, please let me know in the comments below. If you've used them before, tell me what you think of them. And if you have any other suggestions for other microphones, please suggest them as well, particularly in this kind of price range, and we can kind of get a bit of a discussion going. I'm going to do a more in-depth one of these videos at some point soon, where maybe I just test it in a few different locations. I'll go to like crowded spots, I'll do it indoors, I'll do it in nature, I'll do it like on a train, I'll do it on a plane, I'll do it on a bus, I'll do it while I'm going around town and stuff like that. So yeah, take care everybody, have a great rest of the day, bye bye, love you all. You can kind of get that as well. And also, let me just do, it's doing a good job, isn't it?